Most diabetes advice is built around one idea: restriction. Cut the sugar, cut the carbs, cut the processed foods. But there are now 3 major clinical trials showing something completely different. They didn't just tell people what to remove. They told people specifically what to add. And the results were so significant that the researchers used a word that most doctors don't use in the same sentence with type 2 diabetes: remission, also known as reversal of the root cause. I am an exercise physiologist with an A1C of 5.1%. And by the end of the video, you're going to know exactly what to eat to get the best blood sugar you have seen in your life. The specific foods, the specific portions, and how to build it into your daily routine so your numbers start moving in the right direction. Here's one thing that I want you to understand. You don't fix a broken diet by starving it. You fix it by crowding it with the correct foods. Add enough of the right things, and that naturally creates less space for the wrong things. As always, go ahead and comment "guide" below so I can send you a free 7-day meal plan that will help you lower your fasting blood sugar levels and reverse the root cause of the problem. Okay, let's go ahead and get started with the scientific trial that I am talking about so you can finally understand how your blood sugar is going to come down. A systematic review published in Nutrition, Metabolism, and Cardiovascular Diseases pulled together 9 randomized controlled trials covering over 1,300 participants at risk of type 2 diabetes. What they found was pretty clear. The Mediterranean diet significantly lowered HbA1c, brought LDL cholesterol down, and reduced triglycerides, all compared to controlled diets. And a 2018 network meta-analysis published in Diabetes, Obesity, and Metabolism went even further, comparing multiple dietary patterns head-to-head, specifically in people already diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. What it found is that the Mediterranean diet is the most effective dietary approach to improve glycemic control in type 2 diabetes patients. Not just better than doing nothing, better than most structured diets that people are actually trying. 2 independent bodies of research, same conclusion. This dietary pattern moves the needle on blood sugar in a way that is consistent, repeatable, and backed by thousands of participants across multiple countries. That's not an anecdote. That's pure science. So what did they actually eat? Here is where we're going to start getting a little specific. The Mediterranean dietary pattern that produced those results was built around 5 main food categories. And I want to go ahead and walk you through each one. What is it, why it works, and exactly how I personally eat it. Food number 1, legumes, the protein and fiber foundation. Chickpeas, lentils, black beans, cannellini beans, you name it. These are the cornerstone of the Mediterranean diet and the single most efficient way to hit the fiber target that helps you reverse insulin resistance. A 2024 systematic review in the World Journal of Diabetes analyzed 26 studies and found that consistently reaching 35 to 40 grams of dietary fiber per day significantly improved A1C, fasting glucose, triglycerides, and body weight in people with type 2 diabetes. When you build your meals around legumes, hitting 30 to 35 grams of fiber per day happens naturally, without tracking, without obsessing, without a spreadsheet. 1 cup of lentils alone gives you 15 grams of fiber and 18 grams of protein. That's a meal that flattens your post-meal blood sugar spike and keeps you full for hours. I know that this may sound like an abstract concept for you, and also, who wants to eat 1 cup of lentils for lunch? But that is about to change with our free guide. Go ahead and comment "guide" below, and I'll send you free meal plans that meet this fiber target. Now, here is where it gets interesting. The 2026 meta-analysis that I talked about earlier revealed why this works at a deeper level. Multiple Mediterranean diet randomized controlled trials showed an increased abundance of Akkermansia municipilia and Roseburia species in the gut. Bacteria directly linked to improving insulin sensitivity, reduced gut inflammation, and stronger intestinal barrier integrity. These bacteria thrive on dietary fiber, specifically the fermentable fiber found in legumes. So when you eat legumes consistently, you're not just feeding yourself, you are quite literally feeding the microbes that repair insulin receptors from the inside. I eat legumes every single day. Chickpeas with avocado mashed on Ezekiel bread in the morning, black bean bowls at lunch, and lentil soup at dinner, for example. This is how I hit 35 grams of fiber daily without even thinking about it. Food number 2, extra virgin olive oil, the anti-inflammatory fat. This is the fat that drives most of the cardiovascular and metabolic benefits in the Mediterranean research. And it does something that most people's cooking fat cannot do. Olive oil is predominantly monounsaturated fats. And here is why that matters specifically for insulin resistance. Saturated fats, the kind found in processed meats, full-fat dairy, and most packaged foods, directly impairs insulin receptor function. We keep saturated fat under 6% of total daily calories on this channel for that exact reason. However, the Mediterranean dietary pattern achieves this automatically because olive oil replaces the saturated fats that were quietly jamming your insulin receptors. The PREDIMED trial, published in the New England Journal of Medicine, one of the largest dietary randomized controlled trials ever conducted, found that a Mediterranean diet supplemented with extra virgin olive oil significantly reduced cardiometabolic risk compared to a low-fat controlled diet. The mechanism goes beyond fat type. Olive oil is rich in polyphenols with anti-inflammatory effects, and chronic inflammation is one of the primary drivers of insulin receptor dysfunction. Reduce the inflammation and insulin starts working better. 2 to 3 tablespoons per day, that's all you need. And no, I really wouldn't drink it straight, even though you can. But I would make a nice salad dressing with some lime, apple cider vinegar, olive oil, and my favorite spices. Then I would pour it over salads or drizzled on vegetables after cooking them. That's it. Food number 3, fatty fish, the omega-3s that calm the immune system. Salmon, sardines, mackerel, and even anchovies. Fatty fish deliver long-chain omega-3 fatty acids, EPA and DHA, that reduce systemic inflammation at a cellular level. And this matters specifically for insulin resistance because inflammation is one of the key mechanisms that jams the insulin receptor function. Your cells can't hear insulin's signal properly when they are inflamed. 2 to 3 servings per week is the standard Mediterranean target. I am not a fish everyday person, but I make sure that it's in the rotation consistently. Sardines on whole grain crackers, salmon with roasted vegetables and beans, simple and consistent. Food number 4, nuts and seeds, what I call mineral density in a small package. Walnuts especially, but also almonds, pumpkin seeds, and chia seeds. Walnuts are the only nut significantly high in ALA, a plant-based omega-3, making them uniquely anti-inflammatory. Multiple studies show regular walnut consumption is associated with improved insulin sensitivity and lower cardiovascular mortality in people with type 2 diabetes. And almonds are one of the best dietary sources of magnesium, the mineral involved in over 300 enzymatic processes, including insulin receptor signaling. Also, some studies estimate that 14 to 48% of people with type 2 diabetes are magnesium deficient. 1 ounce of mixed nuts per day, basically a small handful. You can go ahead and replace the processed crackers and chips with this. Basically keeping your same snack habits, but having a completely different metabolic outcome. Food number 5, non-starchy vegetables. Volume without the spike. This is a category that makes the Mediterranean diet sustainable because there's no restriction on volume here. Leafy greens, cruciferous vegetables, tomatoes, peppers, zucchini, eggplant, these foods are high in fiber, rich in antioxidants and polyphenols, and have minimal impact on blood sugar. They fill your plate, they fill your stomach, and they crowd out the refined carbohydrates and saturated fats that were raising your A1C. Not because you're restricting those carbs and bad fats, but because there is genuinely no room left. Fill half your plate with non-starchy vegetables at every meal. This one habit alone changes the glycemic profile of everything you eat. So how are we going to build this into your day? Let's go ahead and make this as concrete as possible, because knowing what to eat and knowing how to eat are two completely different things. Let's get started with breakfast. This is where most people make their first blood sugar mistake of the day. You can try my breakfast instead. 2 slices of Ezekiel sprouted grain bread with mashed chickpeas, half an avocado, and a handful of blueberries. That single meal gives me 15 to 20 grams of fiber and 20 plus grams of plant protein. And here's what it doesn't give me: lots of saturated fat. The fat in this meal comes entirely from avocado, monounsaturated fat that supports insulin receptor function rather than blocking it. We keep saturated fat under 6% of your total daily calories on this channel because saturated fat is the primary driver of insulin signaling dysfunction. So this breakfast barely registers on that scale. Now let's do lunch. A legume-based black beans or lentils, for example, with a large portion of non-starchy vegetables, a drizzle of extra virgin olive oil, and either a piece of fatty fish or a plant-based protein like tofu. This meal alone adds another 15 grams of fiber. You are now at 30 to 35 grams before dinner even starts. Saturated fat is still minimal, and olive oil and fish carry virtually none. Now, let's end the day with dinner around 6:30 to 7 p.m., no later than that. Salmon or sardines with roasted cruciferous vegetables such as broccoli, zucchini, peppers, a small handful of walnuts on the side, and then another drizzle of olive oil. Simple, repeatable, and now you are at 35 to 40 grams of fiber for the day. Saturated fat for the entire day stays comfortably below the 6% of total calories limit, not because you restricted anything, but because the right foods filled the plate. And here's the rule of thumb that makes this simple. Half your plate should be non-starchy vegetables at every meal. 1/4 should be a legume or a fatty fish. And the remaining quarter, a whole grain like quinoa, farro, or Ezekiel bread. And olive oil as your primary cooking and dressing fat. Follow this template and you hit 30 to 35 grams of fiber daily and stay under the 6% saturated fat automatically without counting a single gram. That's the Mediterranean template. Now, here is what I want you to understand about these 5 food categories. None of them are restriction strategies. They are addition strategies. When the researchers looked at the Mediterranean diet trials, they weren't telling people to suffer. They were telling people to eat more of specific things. More legumes, more olive oil, more fish, more nuts, more vegetables. And naturally, when you genuinely do that, when those foods fill your plate, you naturally eat less of the foods that were driving your blood sugar up. Not because you're fighting cravings, but because you're not hungry for them anymore. This is the reframe that changes everything. You simply don't reverse insulin resistance by suffering through every diet out there. You do it by building a diet so full of the right things that there's no space for the bad things anymore. Now, I want you to understand this. Diet is the foundation. But there is one natural compound that works alongside lifestyle changes to help you become more insulin sensitive 24/7, around the clock. It's known as berberine, and it's a natural compound that activates a pathway in your cells known as the AMPK pathway. This pathway is technically your cell's master metabolic switch. And when it's activated, your muscles pull more sugar from the bloodstream and your liver pumps less sugar into the bloodstream. It's a double effect that helps keep your blood sugar numbers stable. As a matter of fact, a 2025 meta-analysis published in Frontiers in Pharmacology analyzed 12 randomized controlled trials covering 889 participants and found that berberine significantly reduced fasting glucose, HbA1c, and insulin resistance markers. 600 milligrams with your first bite of breakfast and 600 milligrams, another capsule, with your first bite of dinner. That's the protocol, and it helps your cells respond better to insulin 24/7. I personally use JADE Supplements Pure Berberine. 600 milligrams per capsule, which makes it easy to follow the protocol that I just talked about. Third-party tested at 3 critical points, made here in the United States in an FDA-registered facility and CGMP facility. So the best standard possible when it comes to supplements. I'll go ahead and leave a link below this video if you want to go ahead and try it. But if you want to learn more about it first from a registered dietitian, go ahead and click right here. I'm going to link a video from dietitian Diana talking more about berberine supplementation. So that's it, my friends. The research is there. Major clinical trials pointing at the same answer. Hundreds of thousands of participants and remission rates that outperform most medications. The foods that reversed type 2 diabetes in those trials aren't toxic. They are not expensive. They are quite literally just legumes, fatty fish, olive oil, nuts and seeds, and lots of vegetables, built into every meal consistently and over time. That's it. That's the protocol. Again, if you are having trouble understanding how to build a diet based on these Mediterranean parameters, go ahead and comment guide below and I'll send you free meal plans. If you liked this video, please hit like, subscribe to our channel, and share it with someone who might need the help. Until then, see you in the next video. Take care.